Hello guys, today's day 5 of the Flats and Handwashing challenge, and it's one of my favorite days because it's open topic. The only issue I had was trying to pick one. and I decided after a lot of thought, and because I couldn't do the one thing I wanted to do because I didn't have the resources to do it, I was going to try to find the most economic brand of flour sack towels and the most economic brand of Birdseye cotton flats I could find and compare the two. So I did. Okay, let me preface by saying I'm no scientist. I am a stay-at-home mom using my kitchen and doing a really quick experiment. Of course, it's going to vary and fluctuate based on who does the experiment and all kinds of factors that I probably can't even fathom because I just can't think of it. And so, take it as you will for what it is. But I wanted to compare the absorbency of the two and then just some pros and cons of them. And I also want to mention that I'm not saying one is necessarily better than the other because they both have their proper place, and it would be unfair to say one is necessarily worse or better than the other overall because, well, they're not. It just depends on what works best for you. Each child is different, and so there are and your circumstances are different too, and that can impact what works best for you or not. So before I jump into my little slideshow I have for you, just showing information because I'm a numbersy person, I wanted to mention that what I basically did was I started off with 24 fluid ounces of water, warm water, in a bowl. In my slideshow it says liquid ounces. I meant fluid ounces. I just had a moment. I have lots of those. I'm a blunderful person. And I started off with 24 fluid ounces of water, warm water in a bowl. And I soaked it was a pad folded flour sack towel and a pad folded Birdseye cotton flat that had then been tri-folded, so it was just kind of like a little square. And I just laid it down into the water until it had obviously completely absorbed everything. I then picked it up, I gently compressed it, not to stop the dripping, but to expedite the dripping to stop, and then I held it in place and waited for it to stop dripping. I think my numbers are a bit different than a lot of people, and I can't help but wonder if it's because people just didn't want to wait for it to stop dripping or something, because in my mind, if it's dripping, it's because it's not holding everything. It still has more than what it can technically hold. And so if it's dripping, that's indicative that it's going to pool into your cover. So I wanted to wait until it was absolutely done dripping. That meant standing there, staring at it for quite a while. And I would pinch the corner every once in a while and then wait and let it drip some more. But once it started to really slow down, I just let it go. I let it do its thing until it stopped dripping. That was really the longest and most annoying part of this whole process. So I waited until it was done dripping. And I weighed it. I weighed it before when it was dry on my scale, and I weighed it afterwards. And I know that fluid ounces and dry ounces are different, and so I convert them because I know that one fluid ounce of water weighs 1.041 ounces. So I take that into consideration, and so I did it all in one swoop. I wanted to mention that too. This wasn't two separate experiments. This was all one because I wanted to see if I got consistent results as far as comparing both what the weight said that the flats absorbed and what the remaining water said that it was absorbed. And I was actually kind of impressed with the kind of accuracy of the results I ended up with, which was encouraging. And so here's the comparison of the two. Now, when it comes to comparing them, I tried to find the most economic brand I could find. For flour sack towels, that proved to be the Walmart's Mainstays brand. For Birdseye cotton flats, Gerber sells some at an economic price that claims to be Birdseye cotton, but they're really gauzy, in my opinion, really poor quality. And so I found Cotton Babies actually to be the best comparison for this sake, as far as very economic but not poor quality. So both of them start out about 27 inches square, although after you prep the Cotton Babies flats, they have a tendency to shrink, as most flats do. And so mine measured about 27 by 25 inches. price-wise, the flour sack towels from Walmart are available in a 10-pack, which is the most economic way to buy them. $7.88 for a 10-pack, which comes out to about 79 cents a piece. And Cotton Baby sells their flats for $19 a dozen, which is about $1.58 a piece. Now, when I did my comparison, I did an all-in-one kind of experiment where I did a dry weight. I let the material absorb as much material as it could to be saturated, but no longer dripping at all. And then I did another weigh-in, and then I measured the remaining liquid to see what I had left. So for the flour sack towels, they weighed in at 2.30 ounces dry, and the Birdseye cotton flats came in at 2.80 ounces when dry. Now, when I fully saturated them and suspended them until they completely stopped dripping, and I mean completely stopped dripping, the flour sack towels weighed in at 7.60 ounces wet, the Birdseye cotton flats 10.25 ounces. Now, I know that water, fluid ounces and dry ounces are not the same. Water weighs 1.041 ounces. So I subtracted and times the difference by the 1.041 that the water weighs to get the fluid ounce. I wrote liquid ounce, but it's fluid ounce measurement. So for the Mainstays flour sack towels, their fluid ounces that they absorbed based on weight was 5.52 fluid ounces, where the Cotton Babies was 7.76 fluid ounces. So, like I said, I did also a difference in how much they absorbed. So I started off with 24 fluid ounces of warm water, and I measured what was left that was not absorbed by them. What was remaining in the flour, after the flour sack towel was done, was 18.5 fluid ounces, and what was remaining after the Birdseye cotton flat absorbed everything was 16.5 fluid ounces. So when I subtracted that from the 24 ounces I started with, I ended up with 5.5 ounces remaining, or that was absorbed by the flour sack towel, and 7.5 fluid ounces absorbed by the Birdseye cotton flat. I find this interesting because they stay pretty consistent with what the weight says that they absorbed. Now, as far as dry time goes, I dried them indoors in front of a box fan. It's moderately humid because my air's not on and it's humid outside. And it took 3 hours and 45 minutes for the flour sack towels to dry, and 4 hours even for the Birdseye cotton flat to dry. I checked them every 15 minutes. I was actually kind of impressed. They dried almost at the same speed. Now, it would be silly to not compare the common things between the flour sack towels and Birdseye cotton flats before we contrast them. It's because they both have the same pros and cons for the most part, as does any flat diapers. You know, flat diapers are typically easier to wash. They are typically very affordable. They typically work for almost any baby of any size and any weight because they can be folded in numerous different ways to accommodate. Flats in general are quick drying and have a lot of purposes you can use them for after diapering days are over. However, with flats in general, they do require learning how to fold them, how to use them. There's a learning curve. They can take a little time to learn. And it's not unusual to see flat diapers refused by caregivers, like caregivers will refuse, or even dads will refuse to use, or even moms refuse to use flats because they're intimidated by them. Now, with flour sack towels specifically, there is a cheaper upfront cost. They are just cheaper in general to buy. It's easier to buy a small stash at a time of them. They do not require prepping, other than maybe just a wash from the store. They are a little bit quicker drying than Birdseye cotton flats. They're available in most retail stores. However, they're not as absorbent, and so it's not unusual that they need to be doubled up, which then of course means that you're upping the cost too. You're literally doubling your cost when you have to double the diaper. Mainstays in particular is not available at store price online. You can find it online, but it's not at the store price. It's usually much more expensive, and they tend to wrinkle along the edges, which causes some shrinking that needs to be ironed out after a while. Birdseye cotton flats, on the other hand, are much more absorbent per diaper. They're available online with the free shipping, specifically the Cotton Babies brand, and they are more sturdy usually, so that therefore they tend to last longer before wearing out. However, they do need prepping. They do normally shrink, and of course they are more of an upfront cost. Granted, $19 in free shipping isn't too bad, but for people in a pinch, that's still a higher upfront cost. Look who woke up from his nap. So there's just a kind of what I've experimented and what I've derived from that experiment, plus just some basic pros and cons. But it warrants mentioning that experientially, I've pretty much never been able to use a Walmart flour sack towel on its own. I've always had to double it. In that case, if it has to be doubled, then that means that you're really having to buy 2 diapers for 1, which means you're having to double it, which of course, if they're 79 cents a piece, you're basically paying for 2, which actually, funny enough, comes out to $1.58, which is what the Cotton Babies brand Birdseye Cotton Flats cost each, is $1.58. It's actually kind of funny how that works out. But again, the doubled up flats, the doubled up flour sack towels, that is, will hold more overall than the Birdseye Cotton Flat. So it's like if you need that little extra oomph, like a flour sack towel isn't quite enough, you could get away with the Birdseye Cotton Flat, and that would be a better option for you. Or if you have a somewhat heavy wetter and you need that little extra more than that, you might benefit from the 2 flour sack towels. Or if you have a really heavy wetter, like my son used to be, you might need 2 of the Cotton Babies flats. Then there's the whole, like, how many diapers are you willing to wash? How long are you, like, do you have the space to dry them? Things like that. Because, you know, you figure if you have to use 2 flour sack towels, then you have now 2 diapers to wash and hang dry as opposed to just 1. And we're talking a dry time difference that I've observed of about only 15 minutes. So, I mean, it's a matter of preference. It's a matter of how heavy does your child wet. And this is why I can't really, there's too much gray area to really say definitively one is better than another, because it's circumstantial. Your child is going to be different. Your circumstances are going to be different. If you like live in a really humid climate and you need something that's going to dry as optimally as possible, the flour sack towel is going to be your best bet. If you have a child who just wets just too heavy for the flour sack towel, but seems like overkill to do 2 whole diapers, and it just, and you want to save one having to wash, like how much you have to wring and how much you have to wash and things like that, I mean, you might benefit from the Birdseye Cotton Flats. Or if you can only shop in stores, the flour sack towels would be your option and your best bet. With Plum Bum diapers, we stick to Birdseye Cotton Flats because we know that that is usually able to be used on its own. Like most people can get away with 1 daytime diaper being 1 flat, not doubled up. Where with if we give somebody 24 diapers, they're actually getting 24 diapers, where if we give them 20 flour sack towels, they might only actually have 10 diapers. You see what I mean? So Plum Bum Diaper sticks to the Birdseye Cotton Flats because we have more success with those, as opposed to both within, you know, our experience, us and the directors of Plum Bum Diapers, like from what we have observed, things like that. It's just, it seems like it makes more sense to stick with something that has a higher success rate. I will mention though, one thing we had considered and we still consider on and off and we're not sure and whatever, is if you want to stick to flour sack towels, but you want something that's going to be a better quality, because face it, Walmart flour sack towels work in a pinch, but they don't have the lifespan or the absorbency that most other even just flour sack towels have. We found that the Room Essentials brand at Target is a wonderful brand, and they're only, I think they're $3.99 for a 4-pack, so they're like about $1 a piece, and they are excellent quality. All 4 sides are hemmed. They are strong, they are durable. I would even vouch to say from my own experience, having used them last year for the challenge, that they are comparable in absorbency to even a Birdseye Cotton Flat. Plus, if I remember correctly, they actually start off being like 30 inches by 30 inches, and I can't remember if they shrink, but they're a nice big size. So even though it might not be something entirely suitable for a smaller, like say a newborn baby, but it can be folded down without too much bulk, because flour sack towels in general just tend to not be as bulky because they're not as thick. So we had a lot of success with the Target brand flour sack towels, and I actually recommend, if you're looking for an economic option and you're kind of torn between the two, I think a really nice in-between for its price and for its absorbency is going to be the Room Essentials Target brand. I didn't do it in my comparison here because I wanted to stick to as economic as I could find of both brands, with the exception of Gerber. I'm sorry, but Gerber products aren't what they used to be, and they just, yeah. So I didn't even include Gerber in my study, in my little experiments, I should say. It wasn't even really a study, it was just some experiments, because it's also experiential. A lot of the information I know and I derive is from my own experience having used them. I've used Walmart flour sack towels. I've used the Room Essentials flour sack towels from Target. I've used the Birdseye cotton flats, which is what I'm using in this challenge, which works for you. In fact, you can even just use one of those for even a nap, can't you? You need 2 for nighttime, but you can get away with just 1 for nap. Yes, you can. So that's my comparison of the two. Again, gray area, can't say one is better overall than the other. It really depends on your circumstances. Both have their pros and their cons. Both are options, very feasible options if you want to cloth diaper. And if you're kind of on the fence about which one you want to do, take this information and apply it to your circumstances. See how things might work out for you. You know, like how fast do you need things to dry? How much are you willing to invest? Are you able to buy online or not? Or are you able to find a Walmart and buy this? Or are you able to find a Target and buy that kind of thing? I hope that my fun with numbers benefits somebody out there. If not, I still had fun anyways. I love numbers. I'm weird. But thanks for watching. I look forward to posting tomorrow's video, Lord willing. And if you want to follow along with us, hit the subscribe button. Yeah. And then you can also visit Plum Bum Diapers on Facebook and follow us there as well. I post the videos there along with other things, and then I'm always chatting there as well. Right?
Okay.
Say bye-bye. Say bye-bye. You can do it. I know you can. You rotten. Say bye-bye. Bye-bye. Do it. Well, look at that. He's rotten. He knows. Yes, you do. Do you need a diaper? Do you need a diaper? Okay. He needs a diaper.